Hello, so today's video I'm going to do a little tutorial on how to expand brackets. This is not how you expand brackets, but before we go on to some examples, I just want to go through a couple of things that you need to be able to do, a few things that you need to be able to do in order to expand brackets. The first thing that you need to be able to do is multiply algebraic terms. What I mean by that is something along the lines of 3 times 2a, for example, and this would give you 6a. Simplifying algebra, if I gave you something like 3a plus 6 minus 2a minus 4, this would actually come out as a plus 2. And then finally, operations with negative numbers. They're really important across kind of all areas of maths. But for example, if you were doing negative 3 times negative 2, that would give you a positive 6. You also need to be able to add and divide as well. But okay, let's go to 4 quick examples. So this means 2 lots of everything inside that bracket. So what it actually means is if I had 4d plus 7 and another 4d plus 7, we need to find out what I've got in total. However, a better way of doing this is I'm going to show you 2 methods and you can decide which one you prefer. So the first method, method 1, is going to be the grid method. And to do this, what you need to do is just the same as multiplying numbers with the grid method. If I just draw a grid so I can put 2 things in the top and 1 thing along the bottom, I'll color code this so you can see. This 2, it means 2 times everything inside that bracket, so I'm going to write that 2 there. And then this 4d I'm going to put in the first box at the top, and then this bit's really important. I want you to include the sign that comes before it. Now I want you to think of that not as add 7, but as a positive 7. So a number that is bigger than 0. And all we're going to do now is inside the grid, we're just going to multiply the 2 terms together. So in here I'm doing 2 times 4d. That gives you 8d. And then this is where people might go wrong. It is not 2 plus 7. Remember we are multiplying these things together. So 2 times positive 7 would give you a positive 14. So my final answer when I've expanded this is 8d plus 14. That's your answer using method 1, which was the grid method. Method 2, I call it the dodgy eyebrows method. So I'm just going to start by writing out the question again. 2 lots of 4d plus 7. And all you're going to do is this term here, you're going to multiply it by this term here. So there's one of your eyebrows. 2 lots of 4d would give you 8d. And then the second bit I'm going to do is the number outside the bracket multiplied by the second part of the bracket. Remember, that is a positive 7, not 2 add 7. A lot of people might write plus 9. We are multiplying 2 by positive 7 to give you plus 14. So either way, you can see that both methods will get you the same answer. They both work. For the rest of this video though, I'm going to be sticking to the grid method. Second example, this is where you need to watch out for negative numbers. So we're going to expand this this bracket. So I'm going to start by drawing out my grid. And as before, I'll just color code it so you can see what I'm doing. I want you to include the sign that comes before it, negative 9. And this bit here, negative 7p. And then this bit here, again, include the sign. That's a positive 6. Now, as I say, this is where you need to watch out for your negatives, because remember, if I was just doing 9 times 7p, that would give me 63p. Then you need to think about the rules for multiplying with negative numbers. Remember, a negative times a negative gives you a positive, so actually it is just 63p. And then we're going to do negative 9 multiplied by positive 6. Well, 9 times 6 is 54. a negative times a positive, the signs are different, so that tells me that this would have to, my answer would be negative. So then we finish up our question by just writing it as 63p minus 54. And that's your answer to that one there. You just need to be very careful and double check everything when you're working with negative numbers. Okay, last two examples. You could be asked to expand and simplify. So this question here, if I zoom in a little bit, I want you to start by treating it as two separate questions. That's one of your questions, 4n plus 9, and then your other question is this bit here. Again, notice that I'm including the sign that comes before the number. And there's two parts to this question. We're going to expand it and then we're going to simplify it. So I'm going to expand first. Now what I want you to do with these questions is to expand them kind of separately. So I'm going to start with the first bracket. I'll worry about the second bracket in a second. And when I do my grid method, that 4 goes on the outside. Remember, if there's no number before the letter, in this case n, it means it's a 1. So you can write that in if it helps you. And then positive 9 goes here. Again, include the sign. So now I'm doing 4 lots of 1n, gives me 4n. And then 4 lots of positive 9 gives me positive 36. So that's the first part. Now I'm going to do this part here. So I'm just going to write out, instead of plus 4, I want you to think of that as a positive 4. Remember, a positive number is bigger than 0. A plus means you're adding something on. And then inside the bracket, 5n plus 3. I'm going to use the grid method again. This is a times. This is a positive 4. And then 5n positive 3 goes at the top. And we're just multiplying these terms together. Positive 4 times 5n would give me positive 20n. And then positive 4 times positive 3, positive times a positive is a positive, so that would be plus 12, positive 12. Okay, now these bits here, this bit and this bit, are the expanded versions of those brackets. So just to finish up the question, I'm going to write out 4n plus 36. And then I'm just going to copy this bit, which is why it's really important you include the sign here. So that becomes plus 20n plus 12. Now this is where your simplifying comes in, that you should be confident with. So you might decide to put, I'm just going to put one shape around everything with an n in it. So I'm going to use a red circle. When you do this bit as well, always include the sign. Don't just put a circle around the 20. Always include the sign that goes before it as well. So 4n plus 20n would give me 24n. And then in a different colour and a different shape, again including the signs. If I started on positive 36 and I added 12, that would give me positive 48. So that's my answer. This is the first bit we did was the expand, and this bit here was the simplify bit. So that's that. Final example. This kind of combines everything we've done in the previous 3 examples. You need to expand both brackets but again before you simplify, but again you need to watch out for any negative numbers and remember the rules for multiplying numbers. So just as before, I'm going to expand the first bracket. So we're just going to do the expanding bit first. And if I draw my grid with a times, include the sign, 7 lots of 2w gives you 14w. 7 lots of 6 gives you 42. However, the 7's positive, the 6 is negative. A positive times a negative gives you a negative. So that's the first bracket. Second bracket, again, include the negative before the 4. And I'm just going to do that bit over here. Scroll down a bit so you can see it. The negative 4 is going to go there, and then remember this is 1w, you don't have to write the 1, and then include the sign, negative 1 goes there. A negative 4 times 1w, well 4 times 1w or 4 times w would be 4w. A negative times a positive gives you a negative. Hopefully you can see why the rules for multiplying negatives are so important. And then in this box here we're going to do negative 4 times negative 1, well 4 times 1 is 4. A negative times a negative gives you a positive. So once you've done that, you can put these things all in one line, these terms I should say, 14w minus 42 minus 4w plus 4, and then we're just going to simplify as we did before. So everything with a w in it, put a circle around it. 14w take away 4w would still give me positive 10w. And then if I had negative 42 and I added 4 to that, that is still a negative number. It comes out as negative 38. So that's my answer to that question there. One of the most common mistakes that people make with this, if they were to use the dodgy eyebrows method, is that they would expand this first bracket. 7 times 2w gives you 14w. 7 times negative 6, they'll spot that, gives you negative 42, sorry. Then they'll do negative 4 times w does give you negative 4w. It is this last bit that people make a mistake on. So they would either just do a negative 4, they'd see the 4 and the 1 and say, well, 4 times 1 is 4. And then because that's a negative, they would just put negative 4. That's wrong, because remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. The other thing people might do is, for some reason, they forget that they're actually multiplying these last terms together. So they'll see the negative 4 and the negative 1, and then they'll say, well, it must be negative 5, because they do negative 4 take away 1. You have to remember that you are multiplying them together. So negative 4 times negative 1 would give you positive 4, and then you go and do your simplifying down here. Okay, so those are all 4 examples. I have made another one of my question generators that I'll put a link to in the description so you can download it. As always, when you open the file, at the top here there'll be a little yellow ribbon that appears. For these buttons to work, you need to click on Enable Content, otherwise they won't work. So you can get questions of increasing difficulty, so these are just like the examples I've done, question 1 all the way up to question 4. Or if you prefer to practice just 4 questions, all of the second type of example I've done, you can do those ones there, same with the other difficulty levels. And then once you've got the hang of all of them, you can click on Mix of Questions, and I don't tell you what level of difficulty it is, it just gives you 4 random questions based on the 4 examples that I've done. You can get all of the answers at once, or you can get them one at a time. That's it. I hope that's useful. Like I say, the link to that file is in the description, so you can download that and get some practice. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.